Hello, I'm Donald Duke, and welcome to another episode of Bridging the Gap. Growing up, we had a communal culture. We lived in communities. You knew your neighbors. You were friends with your neighbors. You could go to the homes of your neighbors. If you lived in the urban areas, in the middle class, you had bicycles. You ride around society. Your neighbors' parents were your quasi-parents too. They took responsibility for you. You knew who was doing what and what was all about, who was getting into secondary school, and you got commendation from the community. Well done, you got admission into this and that. I remember at the time I used to play basketball, so I used to go to the National Stadium at Surulere to play basketball. And our neighbor at the time was always encouraging me, asking me to take his son, go along with his son too, who was my friend, to go play basketball and all that. It was very communal, If one had a bike, there's going to be pressure on the parents of the others to get bikes and all that because they all work together. I don't see much of that right now. We're more individualistic as a community. And, it takes a community to groom a child. We don't have that now. You could go spend time out and spend a weekend in a neighbor's house, and you're assured that there's nothing to be afraid of. It's as good as staying in your home. But we again, like I said, that's gone. But I grew up at a special time. I grew up at a time where milk was delivered to our doorsteps. I remember the milk van coming twice a week to deliver a 6-pack of milk, fresh milk. Now, people would say, you were privileged and all that, but we didn't see it as privilege because everyone in the neighborhood had that experience. Everyone who lived, and I lived at a papa at the time, the milk van just didn't come to my house. It went from house to house to house if you subscribed to it, and milk was cheap. Through that time, into secondary school, I went to school in Sokoto. I took a train from Ido with a bunch of very young people, kids, 10, 9, 10, 11. We went by train from Ido in Lagos to Zaria, 2 nights on the train. The first time I got on the train, I met kids that I had never met before. But by the time we got to Zaria, we were buddies, we were friends, and they came from all parts of the country. Then we got to Zaria, and we took a Mami wagon, really, to Sokoto, which is probably a longer distance from Lagos to Zaria. But the key thing here, and the point I'm trying to make here, is that there was safety, there was no fear. Maybe, there was no one saying, why don't you go by escorted vehicles and this? No, just dumped us in a reserved coach, 3rd-class cabin, and we found our way. That is molding. That gives you that impression or gives you the feeling that we're all one. Today, that doesn't exist. Kids don't go to school too far from their homes, So sending a child halfway across the country is diminishing. The infrastructure to support that sort of activity does not even exist. So our society has not improved. If anything, it is retarded in so many ways. Security or safety of the kid was hardly a concern. We weren't worried that, our parents were never worried that anything would happen to us. And we got to school, and the government refunded our travel expenses. That was also exciting because that was pocket money that was coming into I think we used to get about 99 naira, which was a lot of money at the time, Going to university, today I noticed that folks go to university is not too far from their homes. No, we went to university. I went to Zaria, for instance. Some people went from Lagos and Nsukka and all that. So there's a lot of bonding and more integration. Then even social life. In universities, you would leave Zaria and travel to Kaduna at night and come back the next day. Folks would leave Ibadan or Lagos and go to Ife to university or to Benin. The roads were better. there was more integration and all that. What really has happened is really a breakdown of governance. Governance should be proactive, should anticipate this is where society is going and design and build society accordingly. Unfortunately, governance in Nigeria is always trying to catch up, and too little, too late. They will never catch up because they are not able to anticipate the growth of society. You know, in Dubai, for instance, and this is a pungent example, they took a society from nowhere to somewhere. But you know, recently I had a discussion with a gentleman who works in the Ministry of Education in Dubai. And he says in the United Arab Emirates, they've introduced a new curriculum in the education. It's computer programming. In other words, every child that goes through the educational system is a programmer. That's far sight because that's where the world is going. We're still doing times table here, you know, and we're not preparing our kids, equipping them for the world that they're going to function in. The curriculum that suited my time is certainly not the curriculum that will suit this time, because society is dynamic and it changes all the time. So as Nigerians, we need to redress and really pull up our bootstrap to get the society moving. I'm afraid that if we don't, the consequences will be dire. We're a huge country. We're 200 million people now. We'll be 400 million in another 30 years. We'll probably be about a quarter of Africa's population. Today we're a fifth, but with our growth rates, we'll probably be a quarter. So every 4 Africans is 1 Nigerian. If we don't make that quarter a productive one, it will drain the rest and will become a problem. We're already a problem to our neighbors, and then will become a continental disaster. Thanks for watching. I look forward to being with you next time.